Hello everyone, welcome back Warrior students. So the last week I basically lived on the Burning Crusade PTR server. You can see I made a lot of warriors all with the same gear so that I can do a shit ton of DPS tests, because then I don't need to wait for recklessness, and if I fail a test right at the start because of some stupid mistake of me, I can just swap the warrior and have another go. This is like a really efficient method of getting better here with rotation training. Yeah, I did actually a lot of stuff here, but in the first video now we're going to look at big improvements that we can do to our normal just single target slam rotation for two-handed arms. And yeah, I will give you some tips how you can achieve like how you can exercise them, how you can get better at them, because they are really hard to master actually. Like I needed a couple of days to perform a 100% perfect rotation, and that's on a training dummy, like it's not a boss fight. So this kind of shows you how hard it really is. But at the end I tested like semi well executed rotations, face roll, and the super good rotation. And yeah, the difference is actually quite big, especially in burst phases. This is just because of multiple reasons. We will get onto them after you see one of the DPS tests, because then it's easier for me to explain to you what I mean. I think so, at least. So what have I done, or what data I give you in this video are, I did 20 tests, DPS tests, with using Mortal Strike first prior, then Whirlwind, and using Slam as filler. No latency method for Slam, by the way, in the first test. Second, I did 20 tests, Slam first priority, like it's displayed in all guides and stuff. Mortal Strike second, then Whirlwind. Again, no latency method. And last test, I just went on to full min-max. So Slam, first prio, Mortal Strike, Whirlwind, depend a little bit on the rage you have. Using latency method for Slam. So never drain rage below 15 before your next auto attack is hitting. So meaning you do auto attack Slam. If you then have less than 45 rage, you do not cast Mortal Strike, because this would mean that you are very likely to not have enough rage for using Slam, like for using latency Slam. And I went on full on perfecting Heroic Strike trick as well. And yeah, like I said, this had a great impact. However, I do not have Wind Fury here, so this is why this video comes a little bit delayed, because first I needed to step into Raid with Wind Fury and try this out again, see how much impact it had. And today was Raid day. I tried my best today to perform, to use good latency slams, and addition, use Heroic Strike trick a lot and more, and use the methods I came up with to improve like your chances of actually hitting a Heroic Strike trick with your reaction timing, because it gets pretty hard sometimes. Sometimes you have less than 0.2 seconds to react to your rage, so you have less than 0.2 seconds to react to press Heroic Strike for the Heroic Strike trick, and the average reaction time of a human being is 250 milliseconds. So yeah, this is kind of crazy. So you need to be, with your reaction time, you need to be above average, which means that you simply need to train your mind to spot Heroic Strike trick opportunities a little bit extra. Like this 2.5, like this 250 milliseconds average reaction time is not based on something that you have actually trained. If you train something, you can get a lot faster with your reaction time. And this is what you need to do to pull off Heroic Strike trick consistently. But therefore, we have this PTR, this beautiful PTR, where you can put as much time as you have into your rotation and perfecting Heroic Strike trick. I came up with some methods to help myself reacting to my rage so that I'm better with spotting and extract tricks. I obviously will give you those methods in the video. Alright, so let's first I show you the gear I used for the test, just in case you want to test stuff you own with like my gear and see how close you can come to my damage, and I will give you some data about the damage tests. So yeah, I will tell you what I used as consumables, what gear, what talents and stuff. So gear, I just quickly swoop over this. Rawbringer's Battle Helm, here Choker of Violent Tent, in those Kazakh shoulder plates, Vengeance Wrap. It's basically T4. It's with a lot less effective weapon. I use Gladiator Greatsword just because I didn't really get sword smithing to work here. But at the end, it doesn't really matter. It's a sword. So yeah, everything that works good with a sword will work even better with Wind Fury most of the time. We will go into that in detail again later. Specialization is like everything that is out of the ordinary that you can see on this page will not infect the DPS, will not impact the DPS we would do on this dummy, because the dummy will not attack us, so deflection is Wayne train. We will not use battle stance, so improved rend is not important. We will not get stunned, so Iron Will doesn't really matter. If we charge, we immediately swap back to Zerker stance at the start, so we lose all our rage anyways. Yeah, we do not use overpower. So all those things here that are different from your spec most likely will not impact anything on the DPS tests we are doing here. The only thing that is different from the standard spec is my unbridled wrath choice, which we will go in again why I choose this later. And yeah, this is the only thing that can impact the DPS that is out of the ordinary, like different to the main or the meter specialization that you would find on most recommended talent builds. But this makes actually a lot of sense if you're using latency slam method. But again, we will talk about that in detail later. So recklessness is used in this test. Obviously recklessness and trinkets. I used different races for those tests just to give me a little bit of variety, so that I not get bored of the animations from the class, because from the race, because I did a lot of tests. So therefore I do not use any racial actives, so no troll active, no orc racial or anything like that, no access, no human, so that we don't get any sword bonus or something stupid like this. So this is like all the same. Consumables, haste potion at the start and then haste potion after 3 minutes, because the tests are 3.5 minutes, so we get 2 death wishes, the first one with recklessness. Yeah, other consumables, strength food and major agility elixir. So yeah, let's just look at the one test I will show you from the beta rotation, and then we look at the data from all of those tests, like the average DPS that all of those different rotation achieved, and then we can draw a conclusion there. And I will give you like a lot of tips and ways to use your ways to improve your rotation.
Now you know about it, creeping out the good. My damn, now I want to take third wrong. Now you know about it, creeping out the good. My damn, now I want to take third wrong. Now you know about it, creeping out the good. My damn, now I want to take third wrong. Now you know about it, creeping out the good. My damn, now I want to take third wrong. Now you know about it, creeping out the good. My damn, now I want to take third wrong. Now you know about it, creeping out the good. My damn, now I want to take third wrong. Now you know about it, creeping out the good. My damn, now I want to take third wrong. Now you know about it,
Alright, so in this clip there you saw like an almost perfect example of the arms rotation, or at least as it stands right now for me. Like there can always come new things, new tricks that you can discover. Like you never stop learning, you never stop to learn, or at least you shouldn't stop. So there's a good chance that I will actually find more improvements to this, or maybe some of you guys know more improvements to this already. Yeah, anyways, this was like one of the best tests I had in terms of execution, not in terms of DPS, but in terms of execution. So let's first I tell you the DPS numbers of the tests I had. So just spray and pray. So using, I just called it like that, using Mortal Strike first prior then Whirlwind and Slam as the filler. It feels a little bit less mindful, less intelligent. So this is why I just called it spray and pray. This rotation achieved an average DPS of 1463. The Slam rota, with Slam as first prior, but not using latency method, achieved the average DPS of 1470. So they are actually pretty close. So if you do not use latency Slam method, Slam is actually not that much better than your other buttons. It's still pretty good, but it's not that huge. This will change with your gear, especially with your weapon speed, because of weapon normalization. It would be too much to talk about weapon normalization in this video. You could just Google it, read you through, and then you will most likely understand why this is the case. If not, and you're really interested, just ask me on Discord. Then I will explain it to you. But yeah, for this video, it would take too long. And now the perfected Slam rotation achieved an average DPS of 1634, which is significantly higher. But this is only the average DPS. The Heroic Strike trick Slam, latency Slam rota spiked a lot higher in burst windows sometimes, and had like a lot more spiky tests, you know, like there were more tests that came out ahead a lot, because if you get lucky with your rotation and you use Heroic Strike trick, you will gain a lot more out of this luck, because a sword spec proc is luck, right? But if you proc a sword spec proc and you do not use Heroic Strike tricks, sometimes the sword spec proc will glance, or sometimes it will crit and overcap you rage. So not using Heroic Strike trick decreases the DPS you gain from your lucky procs by a lot. So this is why the Heroic Strike trick precast Slam whatever rotation had a lot higher spikes. Like if you get lucky, you pump really hard with using Heroic Strike tricks, like insanely hard. This gap widens even further if you add Wind Fury into the count, because then you have more chances of proccing extra attack, obviously, and you get more rage in general, which means that you can use Heroic Strike trick on a lower rage count. Like for this test, I mostly use it at 80 or 85 rage. But in a raid scenario, you can actually start using Heroic Strike trick on 60 to 70 rage already. Sometimes even lower if you get rage through boss mechanics as well. And you can like almost always use Heroic Strike trick with almost every slam. And then it becomes like, then the numbers go through the roof if you get lucky with that, man, I can tell you. Especially if you have Recklessness on. This becomes even so good that I even achieved better numbers with an attack speed of 2.1 seconds using slam and Heroic Strike tricks than just spamming hamstring and Heroic Strikes. Like, yeah, it has a really big impact. Yeah, I'm kind of excited if you can't tell. So yeah, let's, now we kind of know why Heroic Strike trick is so good. So yeah, why is precasting slam so impactful for the rotation? This is like another thing that maybe not all of you understand. And this is actually a snowball effect with a lot of your stuff. Because if you, like, the tighter you can use your latency method for slam, the lesser you delay your auto attack, right? If that makes sense. Because if you cast it very late, you lose a lot of time from your next auto attack. If you cast it really good with your latency, you will lose out on a lot less time. So what does this mean? This means, first of all, you gain more rage because you do more auto attacks. This means you can do more abilities, which will generate more procs, and those procs will generate more rage. And those rage can again be used for more Heroic Strike tricks and more attacks again. So the tighter your rotation, the more rage you gain, the more attacks you get, and for the more attacks you get again more rage in return. So it kind of snowballs out of control at some point, which is kind of cool actually. So it rewards you really well for using latency method for slam. Just so if you didn't saw in the video, I put a macro to basically all my styles that show latency in chat. This is why my chat is right here, so that you can see. I have 154 latency on this PTR server. I'm not 100% sure how it works with latency and precasting slam. First, I thought that the more latency you have, the more time you can cut out of your swing timer with your latency tick. But I talked with some people that have bad latency, and they claimed that it's kind of the opposite, which is a little bit surprising. For my experiences, it's strangely enough almost the exact same value that I can put on my swing timer to precast my slam than I would use on my main character on the main server, where I have a ping of 26. So this is kind of odd to me. I don't really know how this works, but I'm pretty sure that no matter your latency, if you do it right, you can precast your slam. I don't know if the amount rises or drops or doesn't change at all. For me, like I said, it doesn't really change. However, those milliseconds here are not really a lot, so maybe I just didn't notice that I can cast my slam a lot sooner. Maybe this is the case. I don't know. Alright, so now we covered why using Heroic Strike trick is so important. We covered why using precasted slam is so impactful and important, or latency slam method is so impactful and important. And now we want to cover how you actually going to achieve, like how you going to learn those things or train them, because it will be most likely a big process for you. like it was for me, obviously. So luckily we have this PTR, so you have like you can put as much time as you want into perfecting the rotation. So precasted slam, we talked about that enough. You basically need to set up this latency tick. The link for the video on how to set this latency tick, will be in the video description. Same as this beautiful rage bar over here. The weak aura link will be in the video description as well. So as maybe you wonder, this down here is recount and this is details. When I do DPS tests, I like to use both of them. And since recount tends to always give you a higher DPS, I think it's because it only like uses your active time or something like this. Anyways, it always tends to give you higher DPS. So if the number is higher, you can see differences in numbers a little bit better. At least that's how I think about that. So therefore I use both, and most of the time for the numbers I use for comparison, if I only train on a dummy, I use recount. But you can see DPS numbers on both things if you're interested in it. However, if you want to if you want to compare your damage to mine, you maybe want to download recount, because then you can do it a little bit better. Okay, but I lost myself there a little bit. So where was I? I think I was about to talk about so first we're going to talk about how you actually want to execute Heroic Strike trick, because I kind of get some confusion about that. For some people it doesn't really work and stuff like this, and this is mostly related to macros that the people are just using for their abilities. Mostly it's because of some odd Heroic Strike macros. So I suggest just drag your Heroic Strike as vanilla in your bar, because let's just show it real quick. So we have this stop casting macro. We're just going to transform this real quick into what a lot of people have, start attack Heroic Strike macro, which is kinda shitty. Excuse me. So yeah, it's kinda shitty because, like you can see, we have this start attack Heroic Strike macro in our bar, right? So let's get some rage. We already had one, it doesn't matter. So if you now press Heroic Strike, what happens is we first do an auto attack and then we cure Heroic Strike, which is a lot of the cases, most of the cases, not really what we want to do. Or sometimes we even really don't want to do that, like we want to avoid that by all means. If we only use Heroic Strike in this kind of macro, we are fucking up big time sometimes. Even worse for cleave. For example, you're using a two-hander. It's like those macros are sometimes hurtful for your DPS if you play arms. So if this macro would be for cleave, and I would like lose my target in a cleave scenario because it died, and then I want to do another cleave. If I would press cleave then with the macro, I would first do an auto attack, and then my cleave would be queued up, and then I need to wait 3 seconds to actually do the cleave, and maybe even overcap on rage, which would be extremely shitty and super hurtful for DPS. So never, if you're using a two-hander, use start attack Heroic Strike or start attack cleave macros. Don't do it. Good thing is to use it for slam, though. Really good, because there's slam macro, I think. Is there a start attack attached? Yes. Then if I just press slam here, I just get a super nice slam just by nature, just by pressing this button. So first he attacks and then he casts slam, because the macro tells him to do so, because first in the line is the start attack, and then there is after that there is the slam. So if you want to do a Heroic Strike macro with start attack, the start attack needs to be below the Heroic Strike, not above. So yeah, some people have that. You don't want to have that. again, I kind of lost myself, but it was important. So there are two ways to cancel your react strikes that strike that I know of, and there's this one with like stop car sting, but stop car sting will stop cast slam as well. So if I now press heroic strike, sometimes it can cancel my, there you saw, I wanted to do an heroic strike trick really quick, and it cancelled, just cancelled my slam cast, which would be a huge DPS loss. So if you use a stop cast macro to cancel heroic strike, or I would just not, I wouldn't suggest it. Like I would even, yeah, how you say it, if the opposite of suggesting. Anyways, I would do the opposite of suggesting that. Instead, what you want to do is you want to use a stop attack macro for cancelling your heroic strike, because sometimes, maybe in the heat of the battle, you press your stop cast macro too early to, like, heroic strike trick is this, right? You press your heroic strike trick, you press your heroic strike while your slam is casting, right? And after this, if the heroic strike wasn't triggered, sometimes or most of the time you want to cancel it. But if you press your stop casting macro too early, you will cancel your slam cast again, which would be again big DPS loss. So just use my advice. It's not a button more. It doesn't change anything other than you can't do anything wrong with it. And this is the stop attack macro I use here. I have stop attack start attack in this macro. It doesn't really matter. You could use just stop attack. I have stop start attack for good measures. It works, and I feel a little bit more confident with that. And then you need, and then what you can do is just safely cancel this shit like so, and then cancel it. And as soon as you press mortal strike, for example, you will continue attacking again. The only button really where you need to attach a start attack is slam and whirlwind, because if you do a heroic strike trick and after that you cast whirlwind, if you don't have a start attack macro in the whirlwind, like with the whirlwind, you will not continue attacking by nature. So you would need to right click the enemy or use the start attack macro, which would be another button. So do a start attack macro for your whirlwind to use this method better. So one more thing you can see me doing in burst is using slam spam method of like using slam spamming method and heroic strike trick together, like so, and then just continue slam casting. Short again, heroic strike trick, and then you can continue cast slam, and this slam cast will cancel your heroic strike. However, for some odd reason, if you don't cancel heroic strike manually with stop attack macro, your slam will delay a little bit. Like, look on this bar very closely right now. I will show it again. There it procced. The heroic strike actually triggered. So this doesn't work. So again, and you can see it lags a little bit, right? One more time. You see these strange lags. You can this don't happen if you cancel it manually, the heroic strike that is. See, there we didn't have any delay on our slam. So if you are using spam slamming together with wow, what I did there. If you use a slam spamming together with heroic strike trick, you want to manually cancel them every time. So yeah, this is again pretty important to know if you are considering including heroic strike trick in your rotation. Oh man, I hope this is not too hard. I don't know, maybe it isn't. So But it's a lot of fun to have like those kind of tricks up your sleeve, and even it's more fun even if they work really well. So what have I done to improve my my ability to react on my rage? First of all, I use very big numbers. I use 3 numbers in the swing timer, like in the rage bar. I don't really need the red bar anymore. I only look at the numbers. However, I keep the I keep the red bar. Sorry, I have a little bit of a cold. I keep the red bar anyways because I think it's fancy and cool. But yeah, more importantly, I have 3 big numbers to show my rage because it's so very important for me. And you obviously already saw the glowing effect, right? So if I concentrate here, I can still see if my rage is above, like if my rage is ready for or on the level for heroic strike trick, because then I see, like, how you say it, in the bottom of my vision, I don't know, I see this lighting up. And if you train enough on this dummy, if you put enough time into training with this weak aura and this lightning effect, every time you see this lightning, your brain will be trained to hit heroic strike. See lightning, hit heroic strike. See lightning, hit heroic strike. You know, like this. And yeah, this is very helpful. And without this, I didn't manage to get one single test in with like 3 minutes 30 seconds with using heroic strike trick in 100% of the cases. I didn't got a single test in. I didn't manage to do it on a single test in 2 days. And then I added this lightning effect, and then it took like 1 hour, and I managed to pull one off where I used every opportunity. The opportunities for a heroic strike trick again will be more and more often the more extra attack procs you get and the more rage you get from other stuff. Yeah, another method is to use heroic strike trick on on prediction, because if I have 70 rage, I know that I can use heroic strike trick, so there I don't really need to react. I can already predict that it will be the time for heroic strike trick. Know what I mean, I think. So yeah, again, for me this was extremely hardcore to get this down properly. This is only the first video of our PTR series, and I hope if you really want to improve, I really suggest you come here and just train on this dummy every time you can. And it will only take time, and someday you will be really good with the rotation. And when that day comes, you will destroy in your rate. I just gave you everything you need to know to improve your single target rotation. And I hope that you take this chance and take those informations, maybe make notes if you need to, or watch the video again and again, especially the little performance I showed, the 3-minute one. And yeah, just go in here, create multiple warriors, get your gear, go on the dummy, and just, yeah, work your ass off to get better. Yeah, so I think that's it for the video. I think the video will be 30 minutes or so. Again, it's a lot of talking, but I think I only talked about very important stuff. I hope I didn't miss something. Again, you can join my Discord that is linked in the video description, and you can ask any kind of question you have to the class, or maybe, yeah, you can ask any question like how to get girls or anything you want, and we will answer that as good as we can. And if you have very specific questions or so, or you don't want to ask in Discord, you can private message me and yeah, I will be happy to help. We could even, like, if you're European or something like this, like if you can go on the same PTR realm as me, we could even go together here, and I can try to teach you a little bit stuff live. Yeah, so yeah, finally let's wrap up this video with this last talking here, and we will see each other in the next video, which will be about, I don't know. See you then.